Hi everyone, welcome back to SGK English for a new video. There is a Deep Water Part 2 by William Douglas. Actually, he narrates his own experience where he was nearly drowned in a swimming pool. That he got the fear of water. So, do you know what is actually the name of the fear of water? It is called aquaphobia. There is another one that is hydrophobia. Both these are different. See, hydrophobia is actually a symptom of rabies. Another one is also there. That is, thalassophobia. Thalassophobia is a fear of water. Like sea and a long and big pool of water. That's thalassophobia. Actually, fear of unreasonable and irrational fear of water is aquaphobia. But in our story, none of these things are applicable because these phobias are unreasonable and irrational fear of water. But in our story, the boy got, when he was only 10, 11 years of age, this fear out of his own experience. He was thrown into the pool of water by a big boy and he was really frightened. So he was nearly drowned in that swimming pool and he could not escape from it in spite of all his hard efforts. That is the story. Okay now. So that is the first part of it we have seen in the first video or part 1. Okay, and he tried his level best to come out from that. He had a plan also. That means spring bike when you touch, when his feet touched the bottom. He tried more than 3 times he tried, but every time he tried, he could not be successful. And at that time, the fear, of water came to him, and the fear changed into some kind of terror. So as he was afraid of all these things and all unreasonable, with not knowing what is the reason, a kind of terror, so he was affected with. So at the end he found that he could not do anything or he could do nothing. So he could not escape from that. So he was willing to accept imminent or death which is approaching, and he closed his eyes and he was accepting the real truth or inevitable truth. So I crossed page number 27. I crossed to oblivion. Oblivion is forgetfulness. I could not do anything now. I was quite helpless. I could not do anything. So I crossed into oblivion or forgetfulness, and the curtain of life fell. I understood that the curtain of life fell. That means the curtain falls. My life is going to be over. I have to embrace the real truth, that is death itself. Let us continue video number 2 or part 2. Next paragraph. The next day, remember. What I remember next, I was lying on my stomach. Somebody rescued him. I was lying on my stomach beside the pool and vomiting. Of course, the boy who threw him into that pool, he never thought this boy does not know how to swim. Whoever comes to the swimming pool is expected to know swimming. But who does not know won't come there now. So the boy generally thought that this boy knows, to show his ability and strength and all. No. So he fooled him, calling, "Hey, skinny." Do you remember that? Okay now? So he lifted the boy and threw him into that pool of water. And the big boy thought that he would come back swimming. But he never knew that this boy would go down into the water. Yes, beside the pool and vomiting. He had drunk a lot of water, his stomach was full and the water was getting vomited. The chap that threw me into a saying was saying, the fellow, the boy who threw me into the river into the pool was saying, but I was only fooling. I did as a fun. I never thought this boy would go down. The boy was such a weak fellow. I never thought. I was only joking. I was only fooling. I never took it seriously. There was no enmity between these two before. So he thought this boy would come out from the pool of water. He might have informed someone and they came to his rescue. He said, but I was only fooling. I was not serious. Someone said, the kid nearly died. What do you say? The kid, the boy, nearly died. He was going to die. Luckily enough, he was saved. Otherwise, he would have been dead. But be all right now. Yes, now let him be all right. Let us carry him to the local room. There will be some special rooms nearby the swimming pool with all the facilities for sleeping bed and all, no, for VIPs to come rest there, change their dress, etc. Rooms will be there surely. So let him rest in the room. Several hours later, I walked home. After many hours, becoming normal. After many hours, I walked home. I was weak and trembling. I was weak, very weak and trembling also. Trembling with the fear. I shook and cried when I lay on my bed. I cried a little. I could not forget it. I really was frightened. I couldn't eat that night. That night I couldn't eat at all. For days, a haunting fear was in my heart. Fear was just following me always. Haunting, something that follows you always. So a haunting, a fear was in my heart. My heart was filled with a haunting fear. Always it was there in my mind. Some kind of fear was following me. I was obsessed with a kind of fear. The slightest exertion. Exertion means any physical or mental effort. See, whenever I am made to do some effort, some work, it upsets me. Yes, whatever I was doing, it was upsetting me. Making me wobbly in the knees. Wobbly means weak, very weak, unsteady. Unsteady. Wobbly doors we saw, another lesson. Okay, na? Yes, okay. Wobbly in the knees and sick to my stomach. I felt totally uneasy. So because the fear was there in my mind always, that someone threw into a swimming pool, I was going to die. I met death face to face. I came very near to death. I was going to embrace. Luckily someone saved me. Had they been late for 5 to 10 minutes, I would not have been alive now. Okay, I never went back to the pool. I was totally frightened, afraid. Later on, I never went back to that pool. I feared water. Then onwards, I began fearing water. I avoided it whenever I could. I began avoiding the presence of water whenever I could. Yes, fear of water really came to me. A few years later, when I came to know the waters of the Cascades, Cascade was a steep waterfall. See, I wanted to get into them. When I saw a steep waterfall, I wanted to get into them. I told in the beginning, the first part, that the state has got more than 10,000 lakes. Yes, so many lakes, rivers, canals and all there in that state. So one should know swimming. That's a part of their life. Yes, and whenever I did, whether I was wading, the Titan or bumping river or bathing in warm lake of the goat rocks. Wading means walking through water. Wading means walking through water. Yes, the terror that had seized me in the pool would come back. Whenever I enter into a pool of water, whenever I go near to a pool of water, the terror which I was affected with when I was in the pool. See, he got the fear, but somehow without his own knowledge, some kind of terror, he was affected with. So that terror came back to me. Whenever I enter into a pool of water, whenever I or went near to a pool of water, that terror which I felt, which I experienced when I was in the pool, came back to me. And it would take possession of me completely. Once I get that terror to take possession of me, I was completely obsessed with. I could not escape from that. Then my entire thoughts would go to the terror. See, my mind would become blank. I cannot do anything. I could not do anything. At that time, when I was affected with that terror, you see, what happens? I will be obsessed with that fear and terror. Yes, fear comes first, terror comes at a later stage. Obsessed with that terror. So I was completely filled with that feeling of fear and terror. My legs would become paralyzed. You see, I won't be able to do anything. I can't swim, I can't walk. I would feel that my legs are getting paralyzed. I see horror. See, which makes me completely icy. See, numb, cold, numb, icy. You see, would grab, icy horror would grab my heart. My heart would be grabbed by that, horror, which makes me numb, cold and icy. This handicap stayed with me. This handicap, this deformity continued with me as the years rolled by one by one. But this deformity did not leave me at all. You see, I could not get myself freed from this deformity of getting frightened, fear, and later on terror. Unexplainable terror. I couldn't explain how it happened or why it happened, why it was happening. In canoes of lakes, canoe is a kind of boat. You see, generally pressure trip we use canoes, a kind of boat. Okay. Main lakes, fishing for landlocked salmon. Landlocked is a special variety. You see, a salmon is a kind of fish. Many kinds of fishings there in America, in that state. Bass fishing in New Hampshire. Trout fishing on the, dust chutes. And Metalois in Oregon. All place names not familiar to us. Okay. Fishing for salmon on the Columbia. At Bumping Lake in the Cascades. Wherever I went, that's the only thing you have to understand. Many places are there. Wherever I went, the haunting fear of the water followed me. That is a point, the idea you have to understand, or we have to understand. Wherever I went, a waterfall, a stream, rivers, pool, wherever I went, the haunting fear of water followed me. Yes, this fear of water was following me. I say it did not leave from my heart. It ruined my fishing trips. I had to go for many fishing trips. Destroyed my fishing trips. Deprived me of the joy of canoeing. Yes, it deprived me of. You see, I could not get that. You see, the joy of canoeing, boating and swimming. I could not enjoy any of my pleasure trips. Just like canoeing, boating or swimming. I used every way I knew to overcome this fear. Whatever method I knew, I tried to overcome this fear of water. But it held me firmly in its grip. It was holding me firmly, strongly in its grip. Finally, one October I decided to get an instructor and learn to swim. At the end, I understood that I cannot get rid of this fear of water very easily. So I tried to get an instructor, a trainer to learn to swim. I went to a pool and practiced 5 days a week. Hard work he did really. He practiced 5 days a week. On our each day, the instructor put a belt around me. He put a rope attached to the belt, went through a pulley that ran on an overhead cable. Like dupe in cinemas, no? They would jump from the top of the building. They would also have some kind of belt and a string attached to it. If anything happens, they will be pulled back. Connected to a crane or something like that. Okay, now something at least a pulley or something like that. So they will be controlled. So we see heroes jumping and fighting and all in the air. Not reality. As you know it now. The same way here. You see, through a pulley that ran on overhead cable, he held on to the end of the rope, and we went back and forth across the pool. Hour after hour, we practiced many hours, weeks after weeks, day after day, week after week. On each trip across the pool, a bit of the panic seized me. See, even if I tried in every way I could, a little bit of the panic, the fear seized me. Each time the instructor relaxed his hold on the rope and I went under. Some of the old terror returned and my legs froze. Each time the instructor relaxed the grip on the rope and I went under the water. Again came that fear of water, a terror that I got when I was under the pool. It was not leaving me at all. And my legs froze. My legs became motionless. My legs would not work. It was frozen. It was 3 months before the tension began to slack. After working hard 5 days a week, I worked hard for 3 months. Then the terror became a slackened, means reduced. Slowly, slowly, I was getting freed from the fear and also from the terror which I experienced. Then he taught me to put my face under water and exhale. You see, when you put your head under the water, you must not inhale, then water will go inside. You should exhale. Exhale and raise my nose and inhale. Then I should lift my head and inhale some air. Then I would put my head under and I exhale it. Okay. I repeated the exercise hundreds of times, not one or two. Hundreds of times I practiced it day after day, week after week. And bit by bit I shed part of the panic. Slowly, slowly I was able to get it off. Shedding a part of the panic, not completely, a part of it that seized me when my head went underwater. The fear that seized me when my head went under the water, I was able to get it off it little bit, slowly, slowly. A part of it. Next he held me at the side of the pool and had me kick with my legs to swim, to learn to swim. Swim, you must learn how to use your hands as well as legs. Then he taught me how to use my legs while in water. For weeks I did just that. Many weeks continuously I was just practicing how to use my legs when in the water or under the water. Yes, at first my legs refused to work. In the beginning, even my legs refused to work. But they gradually relaxed. Slowly, 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 my legs got relaxed. And finally, I could command them. At the end, I was able to command my legs, means able to make them work when in water or even under the water. This piece by piece learned that. So first part deals with how he met with that experience of going under the water and getting frightened and getting that terror. Now he is explaining how he was able to overcome it, not on one day, piece by piece, slowly, slowly. He built a swimmer. The instructor, built a swimmer of me. And when he had perfected each piece, each step, each piece, each stage, and put them together into an integrated whole. Then at the end, he connected all these pieces together and made into a whole of a swimmer. In April, he said, now you can swim. With confidence, he said, no problem. You are a swimmer now, you can swim now. Dive off and swim the length of the pool, cross stroke. Many kinds of strokes are there. You see, backstroke, moving like this now. Yes, so breaststroke, swimming like that. So you make a crawling, cross stroke. So you swim. You can swim not across but a length. See, from shallow end to the deep end. Okay, cross stroke. I did. The instructor was finished. The work of the instructor, duty of him was finished. So he taught me everything connected with swimming step by step and connected them all together into an integrated whole. And he made a swimmer of me. His work had been finished. I did. But I was not finished. But I could not get it finished, means I was not confident enough to jump into water and swim. Though his work was finished, he said, you're okay. Perfectly okay. You are a swimmer. Jump, swim. And I agreed to that. I swam. Still, in my mind, I did not get that confidence that I could swim very well and be a swimmer. I was not finished. My work was not finished. I still wondered if I would be terror-stricken. I still wondered whether I would be terror-stricken, affected with the terror. When I was alone in the pool, as he was standing beside me. Who? The instructor. I felt confidence that I could swim. If he goes away, imagine I was alone. So I was afraid whether I would be able to do the same thing. I was afraid whether I would be able to do the same thing, means I would be able to swim at all if he was not beside me. If no one was there, whether I would be able to swim, I was really frightened. Yes, when I was alone in the pool, I tried it. I swam the length up and down. I swam the length of the pool up and down. Tiny vestiges of the old terror would return. Even then, tiny means small. A vestige means something what is remaining. Old terror, something was remnant. See, something was remaining. That would come to me little by little. Yes, but now I could frown and say to the terror. I could frown is get angry. I would get angry to that terror which comes to me and say, trying to scare me, eh? Are you trying to scare me? Frightened. Frightened. Are you trying to frighten me? I would ask the terror, oh terror. See, terror is here personified, introduced as a person. So you should know simile, metaphor and personification. Okay, it is there in a video. Once check, see that personification. So terror is here personified. So inanimate things are introduced as living beings. So it's a character. Oh, Mr. Terror, you are trying to scare me, are you? Are you trying to frighten me? Well, here is to you, look. And oh, if I would go for another length of the pool, whenever the tiny, small vestiges, means remaining part, remnants, would come back to me as small bits of terror, I would ask, oh, terror, are you trying to frighten me? You look here, I am going to jump again. He would jump once again. I mean, from one side to the other side, and he would be successful. He would challenge. He would challenge the terror and he would conquer it. This went on until July. It was going on until July. But I was still not satisfied. Still I was not satisfied that I was able to conquer terror. I was not sure that all the terror had left. Still I was not sure whether all the terror had left me. So I went to Lake Wentworth in the New Hampshire, dived off a dock at the Trikes Island. It's a place name, island that is. Trikes Island, and swam 2 miles across the lake to Stamp Act Island. So from one island to another island, the length was 2 miles. I swam there 2 miles and reached another island, that's a Stamp Act Island. I swam the crawl, breaststroke, side stroke and backstroke. All kinds of swimming stroke. All kinds of swimming. I said no, a backstroke, breaststroke, side stroke. All I tried. Only once did the terror return. In this exercise of swimming, 2 miles, only once the terror returned to me. When I was in the middle of the lake, yes, it was when I was in the middle of the lake, I put my face under and saw nothing but bottomless water. Then I saw nothing but bottomless water. The old sensation returned in miniature, means in a small way. The old terror which I experienced when I was in the swimming pool, the old terror which I experienced when I was in the swimming pool came back to me once again. I laughed and said, I challenged it. Well, Mr. Terror, hey, Mr. Terror, what do you think you can do to me? You cannot do anything. What do you think you can do to me? What do you think you can do to me? Which means you can do nothing. You cannot defeat me. You cannot conquer me. I have conquered you. Yes, I challenged a terror and told him that no, don't try to scare me. I have conquered you. Yes, it fled and I swam on. The terror, you see, fled means ran away. So it went away from me and I swam on. I continued swimming. In this way, after months and months of hard labor, hard work, I was able to conquer the terror. Yes. Yet I had residual doubts, means remaining. Some doubts remaining. You see? What is that? At my first opportunity, I hurried west, went up to the, Titan to Conrad Meadows, up the Conrad Creek Trail to Mead Glacier, and crammed in the high meadow by the side of the warm lake. The next morning I stripped, dived into the lake and swam across the other shore and back. Just as, Corpron used to do, a big swimmer, a great swimmer. I shouted with joy, and Gilbert Peak returned the echo. I shouted with great joy, means I was happy that I was able to conquer all the fear and terror from my heart, from my mind. And the peak, echoed it, my shouting. I had conquered my fear of water. In this way, I was able to conquer the fear of water once and for all. So, two phases are there in this story. First phase was that he was affected with this fear and terror. He could not escape from that. Second part, how he was able to conquer that fear of water as well as terror that he felt. That is our story. Okay, how he was able to conquer that terror and fear that he felt. That he felt or he got, with that incident in the pool. Yes. I shouted with joy, and Gilbert Peak returned the echo. I had conquered my fear of water. I had conquered once and for all the fear of water. The experience had a deep meaning for me. This experience of conquering fear, conquering terror, had a great meaning for my life. As only those who have known stark terror and conquered it can appreciate. Only those who have experienced stark terror and conquered it, only they can appreciate, only they can understand, only they can evaluate or judge, or they can appreciate. So, just by reading this story, you won't be able to appreciate what I experienced and how I was able to conquer it. Only those who have experienced this terror and was able to conquer it would be able to understand me what I say. Yes, in death there is peace. Once you embrace death, there will be peace, calm and quiet. There is terror only in the fear of death. See, fear of death is more, terrible than death itself. Once you accept that you are facing death, you will be able to die a peaceful death. So once you are frightened of death, you will be getting frightened now and again. That's why it is said now, a courageous man dies only once. But a coward, one who is not courageous, opposite of courageous. A coward dies 1,000 times. Each time the fear comes to his mind, he will be dying a living death. See, fear of death is more fearful than death itself. In death there is peace because you accept it as your fate or as your time has come, and you accept it with a peace of mind and you embrace it. You may remember I told in the first video also, what happens in Titanic story, cinema. At the end, when the ship was going down, the musicians, those who are playing with the flute and all, they understood there is no chance of escape because the entire ship would go down. Nobody can escape from there. You see? So there is no question of hurry-burry or running here and there or quarreling among or trying to push someone down and trying to save yourself. No chance. Better to accept the reality and accept death. So they began singing the most sweet music ever. So they were going on singing as the ship was going down and down and down. Because they were accepting that inevitable, reality, that is death itself. So there is peace in death, but the fear that comes is more horrible and terrible than death itself. Okay now? As Roosevelt knew when he said, we saw in the first part, American President, 32nd President of America, Roosevelt said, all we have to fear is fear itself. Really, what we have to fear is a fear itself. Because I had experienced both the sensation of dying and the terror that fear of it can produce. I experienced both. You see, what is that? The sensation of dying. Because I was embracing death. I was very near to death. I saw death face to face. I experienced that. And also, what is that? The terror that fear of it can produce. Fear can bring to a terror. Is it not so? Yes, an unreasonable, unexplainable terror that comes to your heart and you go into a state of depression. Is it not so? You have no way explaining it, how it happened, why it happened, how can he escape, no idea. So he was possessed with obsessed with a kind of terror. See that you get after getting this fear. This fear will bring you a kind of terror from which you cannot escape at all. So I experienced both of it. You see, death and fear of death, both I experienced. So both the sensation of dying and the terror that fear of it can produce. The will to live somehow grew in intensity. So there was the will to live. There is no question of surrendering to death. I must fight until the last and remain alive. That willpower was there in his mind. That's why he was able to escape. Had he been surrendered in the beginning itself, he would have been dead. He was fighting until the last moment. So the will to live was there in him, so strong and so powerful. So he was fighting to the last moment, up to the last moment. So the will to live somehow grew in intensity. It was so intense in my mind, the will to live. At last I felt released from that fear and terror. So I got myself released from that fear as well as terror. Free to walk the trails and climb the peaks and brush aside fear. Free to walk wherever I want to go. I mean lakes, canals, rivers, and brush away means wipe out, remove. Brush aside, you see, wipe away or remove the fear, the feeling of fear, and of course the emotion of feeling of terror also. In this way, I was able to conquer that fear and wipe away the sensation of fear and be successful by conquering it. Yes, once again, at last I felt released. At the end, I felt released from the sensation of fear and of course terror. Free to walk, and I became free to walk the trails and climb the peaks, the path, railway's path, the path towards rivers, canals, peaks, and even sea also. And brush aside means wipe out, remove the feeling of the sensation of fear. I was able to. That is a story of William O. Douglas, narrating his own experience of getting that fear of water, and how he was able to conquer it. I hope the story is clear to you. Thank you for watching. Meet you with another video. Goodbye.